So Dad changed his insurance because the previous insurers didn't like the risk of insuring somebody living in a forest. And so he switched to Allstate. But then Allstate sent somebody to take a look at our property. And when they did that, they decided that, oh my God, we don't really want to risk this property either. But they did give us a list of things that they thought we ought to, Sorry. Thank you. That was so sweet of you. Anyway, so they sent somebody on our property. They took photographs and they gave us a list of things. Oh my gosh, you guys. Things that they felt we needed to change. And so I just thought I would go ahead and kind of document where things are right now. There's one of the roosters. He wants a little bit of hanky-panky. And then there's this rooster. You guys are just going to be loud and annoying, aren't you? Anyway, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of walk around the property, point out the things that I believe they're asking us to do, and also just to sort of document what it is we need to do. Now, I made a preliminary plan. It's kind of weird, and I'm going to just leave it on this table. But it's kind of like a wedding cake. So there's the whole property, but they want us to do some things. And then there's within 100 feet of the house. There's from 30 to 100 feet. There's from 5 to 30 feet and from 0 to 5 feet. So the stuff for 0 to 5, they want us to make sure that this lovely, gorgeous tree, very, very productive. Look at all those seeds. That it doesn't touch the house, and that's good. I'm gonna work on that myself. Today, my husband's buying me some new clippers, and I will clearly work to make sure that none of these branches touch the house. The goats will love eating it, so that's a bonus. Hi, kitty cat. So that's one of the two things. And they also saw this kind of disaster over here of all this wood up by the house, and they say we can't store wood by the house. I think that's weird, but I mean, it is untidy because several people have been working on it and they sort of left it halfway done and halfway undone. So that's the 0 to 5 feet. And then I don't know if you guys can read this, because anyway, it says work on buildings and the coop. So they had several thoughts about this coop, and I'll talk about that towards the end or in another video. But that's the 5 to 30 feet. We have to work on the chicken coops, and there's some things that need to be done in all of these zones, but I'll talk about those. Like, they don't like us having this brush, this silver plant, anything taller than 6 inches, they want us to try to work on. And we will. We have a lawnmower to take care of some of that grass. I've got the new clippers. I'm going to work on the silver plants like that. And these silver plants, the goats love to eat that as well. So that's the 5 to 30 feet. And then from 30 to 100 and closer, of course, they want us to make sure, like if you look at this tree here, you can see that the bottom 6 feet are free of branches. Now, a couple of the branches do fall down a little bit lower than 6 feet off the ground. So we'll trim those as well. But that's one of the things that we have to do. So like, here's a branch that got broken in the storms this winter. We're going to go ahead and trim that branch and any others. But they've also got these shrubs, and they pretty much want us to take, almost everything out. Now, my intention is, like for this mountain mahogany, to try to trim it so it's more like a tree and less like a shrubby tree. I don't know if we're going to be successful. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. I never noticed this nest way up there. Cool. Anyway, so we're going to get rid of a lot of this undergrowth. We like the privacy it gives us, but we want to have house insurance. We can't go without it, so we Got to do what it takes. Now, here we have a lilac. That's why it's behind the fence, because the deer will eat it otherwise. We won't have to trim that, but we might trim a little bit around the base. So we're going to get rid of a lot of this shrubbery, and we're going to do stuff like that. So I'm just going to walk around and talk about this thing and explain what we're going to be doing. Kind of what the place looks like right now and what it will look like when we're done with our changes. So we're gonna mow all of this stuff, and all of these piles of wood are gonna go into storage. And we'll only have it available in the winter, but it won't be anywhere it can catch fire during any of the fire season. We'll have a limited amount available once we're in the middle of snow season. And we're also going to be, as I said, taking out all of these weeds and mowing the lawn here. So that's one of the things. And then, again, we'll come back and talk about this, the greenhouse and the chicken coop. Those are, if they're 10 feet apart and 10 feet away from the house, they're not going to be a problem. This one, I don't know. We'll talk about it. But anyway, so we've got 2 islands because we have this loop of driveway. So this is the big, well, I guess this is the main island because it's nearest our house. But we're going to trim a little bit for the lilac, and we're going to probably take out the majority of this underbrush. So I kind of want it to be obvious. It used to be solid. We've taken out a lot of that stuff, and we're going to trim this tree so it doesn't touch the house. And then we'll cut back on, like all of these lower branches on that juniper there. We'll cut those back. We're getting a pole saw to give us, an advantage. We'll get rid of all of that manzanita. It's lovely, but it's got to go, so it's going to go. And then what we'll do, so that's our first little island. Then the second island, we have taken out the majority of the stuff, but we are going to work on it some more. Like, they did notice this pile of brush that was sitting where the car is, but we moved it slightly. But we're going to take that pile of brush down to the middle of the field there, so it's not near anything. We're going to take out these silvery plants and trim up some of the underbrush here. And I really like the mountain mahoganies. So it'll be really nice if we can take like this one mountain mahogany and trim up all the lower things, take out that manzanita bush. But we might be able, 6 feet up, there isn't much tree left. So we'll probably take this mountain mahogany out. We might try this one to see if we can get it trimmed up. We're going to have to take out all this undergrowth here. And what we're going to be doing, let's see what else. So we cut these back down to the ground, but they've been growing back fast. We'll cut them again. And that mountain mahogany will probably have to go. The goats are going to have an absolute feast. Now we do have this holly here, or whatever it is. I don't remember what it's called, but we might trim that up a little bit and leave it so that it looks like landscaping. I'm hoping that we can do something like that. We'll see. But because we can have some, but it needs to just be really, really, it needs to be tidy. Like this grass right here is as tall as me almost. And I'm 5 foot tall. But see, these 2 trees, perfect. This tree We've got to trim the broken branch, but otherwise good. And then this brush all is going to probably go. We might trim one or two so that they're more like a tree, less like a bush. This one got damaged in the storm, so we're going to want to probably take that one out, or most of it out. Now this tree also got damaged in the storm, so we're going to take out the underbrush here. I like that mountain mahogany, I think it's fine. And we'll take out a lot of the lower branches here, and that one branch that sticks out. This is probably going to come down, and that, and that, and another mountain mahogany that we'll get rid of. We will probably try to keep that tree, but trim it up so it doesn't touch the shop. I don't know what kind of tree it is, but it deserves to live. And then I'm not 100% sure about this juniper, but we'll try to trim it up so that it's not touching the building, and it's got a 6-foot clearance. Probably have to do some trimming on the pine trees and things so they, have, no clearance. Let's pop around to the back of the shop so that that becomes clear too. See, we had a whole bunch of things growing here, but we took those out. Obviously, the grass here, it needs a good chomping by a lawnmower or something. It's easy enough to do, and that's what we will do. There's this little pleasant grotto at the back. Oop! Almost fell. At the back of the shop. So we'll mow this and we'll trim the lower branches, so that it doesn't touch the shop. And, but we'll leave tree and shade, but we'll make sure it doesn't touch the building there. And this is sort of a one-way. So I go back the way I came. I'm just trying to show everything that they've said we have to do, everything we're going to have to do. Probably when it's all said and done, the amount of money and labor and everything else, and the amount and cost of buying weed whackers and pole saws and everything else, it might all be the same as if we had paid someone else. But it's okay. And then we're going to fully enclose this so that we can store things safely without worrying about them catching on fire. We'll weed whack over here. And I'm not 100% sure about that holly. I like the holly. I'd like to keep the holly, but we'll see what they say. Obviously, we'll be taking care of all these weeds and cutting them down to size. And as long as this shop is 30 feet from the house, and I think it is, as long as the shop is 30 feet from the house, we just need to make sure to get rid of those weeds and make sure there's clearance and some things like that. Hi, beautiful girl. We're going to take all of these piles of wood here and there's a spot where there's some old hay. We're going to pretty much pile them all in that one spot and rake up the pine cones over here. Now, this pine has had some severe damage. I think we might try to lop off anything that we can reach. But we might take the whole thing down. Kind of depends. We've got the tetherball tree. Now, I like the tetherball tree, but we'll have to cut off some of the lower limbs so that it's 6 foot, 6 foot from the ground that's clear, because that's basically, they don't want there to be a brush, a grass fire, not that we have any grass, that races through and catches the limbs of the tree on fire, because the trunk is less likely to just catch fire spontaneously from a grass fire. But if there's the needles and the limbs and the thin stuff all available, that's going to end up being, a problem. We'll take care of all of these. I have to get the goats working harder next time. We'll tidy up down here, but really this is not that big of a deal. The nearer junipers, well, make sure most of them did at least have 6 feet of clearance, but stuff has grown and changed and things like that. Now this is kind of coming around to the far side of the house, and we do have this mountain mahogany that's mostly dead, so we'll be taking that out. And again, the goats love to eat that, so they're going to eat it, and that's good. And then for probably those 2 mountain mahoganies up there might need to be taken out as well. And these trees cleared up to 6 feet. Take out this mountain mahogany, clear out all of that dead wood, pile it up ready for this fall. And then, of course, let's take a look back in the corner here. It's a long video, very boring. But hey, why not? Anyway, just thought I would share what I got. Now, I'm going to pause a moment. It is very hot. And I'm going to hang this up right there. All right. So birds. All right. Now, up to 100 feet away from the house, we need to make sure that there's no shrubs, except for ones with a certain level of clearance. And then we also need to make sure, I really wish people would return this lock to the way I had it. We entered, we never do, that's okay. But anyway, we have to make sure that from 0 to 100 feet from the house, we have a lot of things. Hi guys, how you guys doing? You're such a beautiful girl. Yes, I'm gonna go back over here into the coolness. Now this building is all metal. I mean, it's got a little bit of particle board inside, but it's pretty much all metal. And then, so back here is where we're gonna have to do some work, and I'm hoping they're not gonna get all nasty about it. I'm thinking they won't, but one of the things, so we're gonna have to get rid of this pile of sticks. Oops, I tripped. And all that dead wood there, and another pile of sticks here, pile of sticks there, all of this dead wood. We're gonna have to trim these trees up to the 6-foot mark. I've been working on that over time. And then get rid of that pile of sticks and that pile of sticks. And there's another pile of sticks over here. I'm not gonna necessarily walk over there because I'm enjoying the shade. And another pile of sticks there, and there, and some others. But pretty much, if you kind of look at this, there's a closer in the very center of the screen. That cedar will probably just come down. There's one that's right behind it. We'll trim that one. But basically, I think that's about on the edge of the 100-foot mark from the house. So we're pretty much from a circle that begins pretty much right at this tree. That's 100 feet away from the main house. We want to make sure to get rid of all of this wood, which is a huge amount of work, and probably get rid of those piles of wood. I mean, these are things that needed doing anyway. Probably should find out what it would take to get a whole bunch of this taken away at once. Maybe somebody will take away who wants the wood. Woodchuck. How much wood would a woodchuck wood? Right? Or whatever. But if we can get rid of all of this dead wood, which has been my goal forever, and get, all of the low branches on these trimmed up, then You know, so these low branches trimmed up. This piece of dead thing gotten rid of. All of these dead things gotten rid of. It's a monumental task. But I honestly think that if we can compare what we have right now to what we have later, like here's this rock. I'm going to stand at this rock and just do a slow panorama, whatever. I'm going to turn in a circle, try to remember exactly where I'm standing. There it is. So I'm going to do a slow panorama. So our house is behind the barn. This is about 100 feet from the house, more or less. And then, so we're going to make sure these trees have a 6-foot clearance. Dead wood gone. All that dead trees gone. Like we got the sheep in, and you can see at the base of this tree right here, you can see that the sheep basically throttled the plant, killed it dead, but now it's dead and it needs to be removed. But you can see where they chewed on all of the trunks until they killed it dead. But now I have to take all those plants that were killed by the sheep on purpose. We wanted them to do that. Now I have to get rid of kind of the corpses of the trees they killed. And, you know, we want to trim things up and take some things out. Like, we probably don't need this cedar right here. There's another cedar right behind it. We can get rid of that. Anyway, I was doing a panorama. So, here we go. Let me get back to my rock here. Just so I can make a panorama that really shows the difference. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that fell in the storm last spring. So, it's really hard to kind of tell exactly what's going on. But anyway, so this is kind of the biggest effort here. But if we can trim up the trees, tote all the wood into a big pile, or maybe even the fire department can take it away, and we can trim the trees, take care of the weeds, take care of the islands, and then we've got those 2 outbuildings. Hi, guys. Hi. Now, this is one of our biggest investments in weed control. Not the chickens, but we've got Tina Turner here, and there's AC, which is her very first baby. And right behind AC is her first baby. So Tina had AC as her first baby, and AC, her first baby, is Latte back there. Here's Stevie Nicks. They're all just kind of like, it's so hot. Why is it so hot? And this is Tina Turner's 3rd baby. Okay, I'm going to stop the video. We'll continue.